Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. My name's Soleil and I garden in mid-Michigan and we're in a zone 5B, and today we're going to be doing a follow-up from our part 1 video where we removed some veronicas from this full sun bed. So what I'm going to be planting today are some new irises that I got. I got these at Costco and they're from Longfield Gardens and they look like they're going to be really beautiful. They're bare root, and so I've been growing them on in some pots in order to just get that first new growth really hardy, and then we're going to put them in the ground today. We're also going to do some planting in the back garden as well as the way back garden because I got some witch hazel trees that I can't wait to show you guys. All right, let's get started. I have two different types of irises today. This one is called Concertina. It's supposed to be a very beautiful pink iris, kind of a light peachy pink, and with a beard that is a little bit purple, I believe. We'll put a picture up so that you can see that. And then the other irises that I have are His Royal Highness, and these look like they are growing on really fast, so they seem to be super happy. His Royal Highness is a deep purple. So I think what I'm going to do is, because His Royal Highness gets bigger than the Concertina, I'm going to put those to the back up against the boxwoods, and then I'm going to put the Concertinas in front of them. I think this will be a really nice blend of color for this area because I already have a lot of pinks and purples, and I really needed another type of foliage. With the thick, broad, blue-gray leaves on irises, it's definitely going to give me what I'm looking for here. Oh wow, this is great, you guys. Wait till you see the roots. They're definitely growing really strongly. This is fantastic. Look at those healthy roots. Just what I was hoping for. So I have 4 of each of these irises. I wish I had 3 of each, but that's not how they came. They came with 2 of each. And they're definitely going to, it looks like, keep getting bigger and stronger. And I would bet that next year they produce a lot of babies. So let's see how these Concertina irises did. They may just have had a little bit more water, and so that may be why they're not quite as strong as the other ones. Just trying to loosen them up around the edge. It's at least a good sign that there's some roots in there. Oh yeah, these look good too. All right, excellent. All right, so we'll have 2 of those over here. And then let's just kind of pull these apart gently. And we'll have 2 of those over here. Make sure I remember that this one's His Royal Highness and this one's Concertina, so I get them in the right spot. Now when you're planting irises, it's important not to plant them too deep because they really like to have their rhizomes up top of the soil, and that's because it helps them. I think I'm going to do a little bit of digging actually here. It's because it helps them to gather the sun's energy and be able to produce the blooms that we want. Definitely some roots in here from the boxwoods. Just want to break those up a little bit. Okay. So I'm just going to plant these to make sure that the rhizomes stay nice and high, and put the soil in and around them. We'll steal a little mulch from over here and back here, and then we'll get the other ones. This one looks like it may have started to rot a little bit, but it looks okay, so it's got plenty of new growth. I think it'll be happier once we get it into the regular soil here. think I'm gonna have to go to the store and get some more mulch after all of this planting. And I'm not gonna water these in because they're pretty well hydrated from the rain last night, and it's supposed to continue to rain today. So we'll leave this soil nice and fluffy with them. And I think that looks good. So this soil is all pretty clay, and everything from the boxwoods this way has only been mulched and established for about 2 years now. So I'm still working on, actually I should say that the worms and all of the soil microbes are still working on breaking this soil up after I installed the mulch and began planting in here. Again, not trying to plant these deeply. And I'll just put these plant tags in for now. Make sure again that those rhizomes are just above the ground. Okay, I think that's about as good as it gets. Let's see how this looks. Oh man, I love it. You guys, that is a great addition and colored foliage to this bed. What a difference that's going to make with the tall, spiky blue foliage. Even if bearded irises only bloom once and it's for a week or maybe 2, that's okay because the foliage should look good pretty much all season. And these are reblooming irises, so there's a possibility that exists that they'll bloom early in the summer and then that they'll bloom again late in the fall. So we'll see how it goes. I've never had any reblooming irises. I don't know if our season is long enough for them or not, but we're going to give it a shot. All right, let's go take a look at the trees that I got. All right, well, here we are in the back shade garden, and I'm really excited about a recent purchase that I got. I got a new birdhouse. It's made out of cedar, and I'm going to install it on this side of the post. I try to get a new birdhouse every year. We're not going to install it today, but I just thought I'd show you a little glimpse of that before it gets installed. So I just love adding something a little bit more every year, and eventually I will fill this whole bird post up. So this right here is going to be the star of the show, this beautiful tree. And let me tell you a little bit about it. This is the Jelena witch hazel, and it doesn't have a tag on it. I bought it offline. I got it from Whitman Farms, and I got it from a wonderful lady named Lucille Whitman. And you just call her up and you tell her what you're looking for, and she works really well with you, puts it together and ships them out. I believe she's in Oregon, and this actually came through FedEx. It was actually in shipping for 6 days. I've got 2 of them, and they're absolutely gorgeous. You guys, they remind me a little bit of a Fothergilla in terms of the leaves that they have, but just look at the beautiful blue foliage on it. And the amazing thing about it as well is that the backside is so soft. It's just downy. So this beautiful specimen is a Jelena witch hazel. It's Hamamelis intermedia Jelena, and it has rich coppery orange flowers, and it is an unusual shrub, but it does grow in the understory in many areas. It has blazing color in the winter landscape, so it has these rich coppery orange flowers that happen probably in late winter or maybe even really early spring here in Michigan. They have really wavy little strap-like petals that blanket the bare branches of the dramatic spreading form. and they actually are fragrance as well. So this is a deciduous tree, and this particular variety is bred to drop its leaves before the flowers come out. There are some witch hazels that maintain their leaves, and so the flowers are a little bit harder to see. But these are a native plant, and they were named as witch hazels because they were used as dowsing rods by colonials who couldn't obtain the wood of their English hazel in the New World for that purpose. So they all contain high tannin content, and they've been part of the cosmetic industry as an old-fashioned astringent known as witch hazel. And Native Americans have used it in dozens of different remedies and as a valuable coagulant for blood. So, this grows about 15 to 20 feet tall and about 10 to 15 feet wide. So the reason why I want to plant it here is because I think it will give more cover to the birdhouses, and also because I think that our tree that's next to it, which is a hawthorn, it's probably getting closer to the end of its life cycle. So I want to make sure that we continue to have shade, and this is going to provide some amazing winter interest. It's considered a real problem solver as an understory beneath aged old shade trees as well. So if you have an old shade tree, you may want to think about adding a witch hazel to your garden. Again, this one is about 15 to 20 feet tall and wide, about 10 to 15 feet wide, and it's good in full sun or part shade, and it's considered an easy care plant. So I'm going to be planting this here. It grows in zones 5 to 8, and we are again a zone 5B. This has a vase-like habit as it grows, so I should be able to prune it into a small tree form, which will be beautiful. And then we have another one, and we're going to plant that in the way back. So let's get going. All right, well, welcome to my way back garden. We're back behind the fence and on a hill, and it's incredibly steep. So we're going to try to get this planted fairly quickly. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking out this honeysuckle eventually, probably not right now, but it is growing into the fence. It does provide some shade for the garden right now, but I don't really like it, and it's growing into the fence, so we're going to have to take it out. So this Fothergilla, I'm hoping that it will grow at least big enough to provide some shade for the garden behind it. I called it a Fothergilla, I mean witch hazel, because it's got such similar leaves, you guys. It looks so much like the blue shadow Fothergilla that I have, but with giant leaves. I love it. It's beautiful. I even emailed the person who sold it to me and showed her a picture of it arriving well at its location, because I was shocked at how well it did 6 days in the FedEx. It was only supposed to be 5 days. Luckily, it's no longer like 100 degrees outside, and luckily this soil is nice and friable. It's very difficult to dig in when it's dry. It's just such heavy clay, and so because it's so heavy, the witch hazel can grow in clay. It basically tolerates it. It's not its favorite thing. It prefers a little bit of acidity and well-drained soil. Got a rock here. So I'm just going to make sure that I dig a really good size hole here. And because it's so dry back here, because the water runs off, I'm also going to try to create a little bit of a well around it at the bottom so that it kind of helps to keep the water in. And then, because we have deer back here, I'm going to get a small fence to put around it, which won't look pretty, but it's supposed to be deer resistant, right? But the deer get hungry and they eat just about anything in the winter here, and we have a deer path that goes right through this way back garden. And I'm going to show you guys around the way back garden here after we finish planting this. Luckily, the hole doesn't have to be too deep. Just want to make sure, though, that this clay is broken up enough so the roots can really get hold of things. Another rock. All right, I'm going to use a little bit of rose tone in this hole. You probably saw me use that on the other one. And that's just because I really want to protect my investment in these plants and I really want them to be happy. And rose tone is what I have on hand right now. And it should be really good because this is a blooming plant. And also, it's just like biotone in that it has all of the good bacteria in it that are going to be able to help the roots form well. So that's why I'm using rose tone on this plant. Can you guys tell how excited I am about this? Now, the important thing here is I don't want to bury it because it is on a hill. So I'm going to keep the top edge level with the soil, and then I'm going to backfill to keep it at that level, because you do not want there to be a tree that dies because it's put in too deep. I'll probably come back here and put some mulch around it as well after I get it. I definitely got to get some. And what I'm trying to do is just mound this soil up against the side here to help create a stop for the water. I know it's not going to work that well, but the other thing that I'm going to do is just put some sticks over it, which will help hold it in place for now. The nice thing is it's supposed to rain for the next couple of days. So it'll give this a really good chance to get established. This is rustic planting back in the way back here. It is not like a normal garden, but it definitely looks a lot better than it did. Where's that other rock? There it is. When I first started. So some of these sticks and things will help with slowing the rain down from washing out the dirt. That's all I'm doing right here until I can get the mulch on it. Which I'll probably still go by today. All right, let me grab a fence to put around it real quick. All right. So now I'm just gonna have to get some stakes. You can actually see I have some big root geranium here right around it that I planted back here, and it's doing well. You just have to keep on coming back and pulling out the stuff that you don't want to make sure that there's enough room for the stuff that you do want. I'm gonna grab a long stake to help hold this in place. All right, we got the fence over it, and I've got a couple of sticks just holding it in place so it doesn't fall down the hill while I wait to get the mulch, and then I'll pull those out and use my metal clips that help to hold it in the ground. So let me take you for a walk through this back garden really quick, and then we're going to plant another shrub that I forgot to tell you that I got. So that'll be a little surprise addition to this video. So we will start at this far end real quick. We just have some, like I said, some big root geranium. We have some foxglove, and you can see the small evergreen in the distance that I'm going to have to put the fence around as well. Lots of big root geranium in here, and then we also have some hellebores. I've been planting baby hellebores back here, and they're finally getting to the size where they should be blooming. This one has started blooming already. This area I planted last year in one of the videos that I did, and I planted some lungwort, and we have some lamium. I believe it's called purple dragon lamium. And then we have some variegated vinca here, and it doesn't seem to be too aggressive, at least so far. A little bit more lungwort. I did plant some oh gosh, what is it called? The Sun King Aurelia back here. And it did not do well. The deer actually ate it, so that didn't work out. So in addition to this lamium, we also have some just regular vinca that blooms a really pretty bloom in the spring. And that's doing a pretty good job of helping to hold the soil in place. We have some more hellebore down here. And eventually I plan to take out these two shrubs down here. And then we have some lungworts back here. These are the Diane Clare variety. We have some sweet woodruff back here under the shrubs. Some more hellebores. We have some nepeta. And then along the edge here we have foxgloves. And this is where I planted my epimedium. One of my epimediums is right there. And then if we look back on the path this way, another one is over here. So they're doing very well so far. I have a huge weed I have to come in and get. We have some irises which haven't bloomed yet. I don't know if they get enough sunshine to ever bloom here, but again, when I take out some of the shrubbery, that will help. I've been planting ajuga in here, so that blooms really pretty in the spring, and it's been spreading around. And let's see, what else do we have here? More lungwort along the path, more foxglove, and some of that beautiful wood aster grows up naturally. And then over here we have some concrete block that was busted up from sidewalks that my husband has put down as some stairs, and he has yet to finish it off. So that's what you see when you see the pile of concrete that is behind the fence. And lots of those beautiful little wood asters in this part of the garden. And this is where they took out those trees, so this was really full shade up until now. I have a couple of small junipers here, 2 seven sun bushes, and both of those the deer like, so I had to put the fencing around them, and I might have to move them, but we'll see. And then I have 2 very small little cuttings that I just have marked by these. These are cuttings that I rooted. They are forsythia shrubs. So one there and one here alongside the pathway, and a columbine. So that's pretty much what the wild back garden is looking like right now. And hopefully it will just continue to get better. It takes a long time to kind of reclaim an area that is wild like that. Okay, so I have some purple coneflower in here right now. I'm just going to pull them out, and then we're going to plant this beautiful fireside ninebark. So the fireside ninebark takes full sun. As you can see, its foliage is a really nice deep red to purple. It's a little bit extra dark right now. These are hardy down to zone 3 and up to heat zone 7. They are a native shrub, so they do really well in putting down their roots and looking good throughout the summer and throughout drought. And let's see what else. It has beautiful bark also in the winter time because it peels. And the foliage does turn a really deep purple in the fall. So it does, they all have different foliage colors in the fall. So I'm just going to pull these purple coneflowers out, because I feel like we needed something with a little more structure here. And a different color and texture. And I think this is going to do it. Also, the size on this is 5 to 7 feet tall, so it should get quite tall, and up to 4 to 6 feet wide. My plan is to keep this a little bit trimmed. I do have other ninebarks, and they don't seem to get quite as big as the tag says in my area, but we'll see. You never know. And I'm going to plant it nice and far back in here, because that way it will have plenty of space to grow forward. I'm watching to make sure I don't dig up any bulbs in here because I do have some lily bulbs and some other bulbs in here, but I think the rabbits might have eaten them, so. I'm not seeing any. I'm going to take the bottom of this root ball off a little bit. It doesn't appear to be like root bound or anything, but the bottom roots are not that fantastic. I think I still need to get deeper. It's hard to dig in here. I didn't see any bulbs, so I'm going to take out my bulb marker. And I do plan to come in here and plant some clematis as well. I thought the diamond ball clematis died on its own, but I found out that it was actually chewed up probably by a rabbit and broken off. So that's too bad. I don't think the roots are strong enough, or that it had enough strength to be able to come back on its own. So that's all right. I have plenty of other clematis. All right, let me get out of here so we can look at this straight on and see how it looks. Oh, isn't that pretty? That's exactly what I wanted. That's really going to show off the hydrangea next to it too. That's a quick fire hydrangea. And everything's just going to pop when it's coming up against that. And that's going to put a little bit more height into this bed next to the hydrangeas as well as those grow up. Well, it's been a really productive day, and I'm looking forward to some rain later, so nothing else is getting watered in, and they are good to go. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this video of getting things planted, and I hope you guys are out in your garden getting things planted or divided or moved as well. It's a great time to do it. We'll see you next time. Bye.